Okay, so this week we're talking about trees, and these are small scale projects. Although in the future I'm going to be doing a larger gaming table uh, with a jungle as a theme. And jungles are represented in some of the old Warhammer skirmish. If any of you remember Warhammer Fantasy, that's where a lot of us gamers started. You know, Warhammer Fantasy or Warhammer 40K. Um, Jungles are a big theme, and there's while a lot of those tables are designed for picture taking, there's a lot you can do to recreate a jungle setting in your tabletop, and a lot of that has to do with the vegetation. So right now I'm making vines, and I'm using tinfoil, and there is a wire in here and hot glue. So this is pretty durable, and the nice thing about this is that you can shape it and hook it on to your trees. You can glue it permanently to the trees to make like vines dangling down. And I use a lot of different materials to make vines. I use twine. You can kind of use this twine. I usually color it a little bit, just soak it in paint, right? And then wrap it around my trees, kind of hot glue it a little bit, let it dangle, and it's an excellent vine. But for this particular table I'm thinking about, I want to have some tinfoil vines with bark texture on them. And I'm going to show you how I make one of those vines, and then real quickly I'll just show you a couple of little things that I do to decorate the vines. Now, I haven't painted anything yet. That you'll see towards the end of the week. One of the most important things, of course, is that we're gaming on these tables. These are not necessarily dioramas. We want to always keep in mind playability. So a lot of these scenic things are going to go around the edges of the table. And when we talk about jungles, and I set up my own table, I'll show you what I do to kind of give the feel of a lush jungle. And this is especially good for those lizard man players. You know, when you have lizardmen, replicating a swamp or a jungle is actually a very cool thing to do. So a lot of my tables, I like playing with a lot of terrain, and it's one of the things that really attracts the eye of new players, because people come in, they see all this nice set up table, and then they like, oh, how do you play that? You know, so it's a good recruitment tool for our hobby. Anyway, come closer and let's check out this vine on my workbench. Okay, so I have vines crisscrossing around my trees, and these are temporary. I haven't hot glued anything. But you can see how well tinfoil replicates all the bark and everything for the vines. Now, if I want to, and I most likely will, I can cut off some of these plastic plants and put them on the vines. I use wire to secure it and hot glue, and then camouflage it a little bit and have little bromeliads actually perching on the vines, and that will give it a real lush look. Now, this type of setup would only be on maybe the edges of a table. They would not be in the center because they're going to interfere with the gaming. And it also depends on how big your table is. But this actually adds a lot of feel that you're playing in a jungle, and that's why I do it. But here is one vine I'm creating. So I have my floral wire, and that's what I'm using, that green floral wire that you get at any craft store or Walmart or even a dollar store. And I have a couple of these. I use these extensively in my sculptures for armatures, and so you can see the wire in there. And then what I do is I hot glue very carefully, because this tinfoil is going to get hot. Okay, and just kind of add a little bit of hot glue in there. All right, and I could feel that heat. And then I'm going to carefully start to wrap, wrinkle, really tighten that foil around the wire. It doesn't matter if the foil breaks a little bit. If it does, I use hot glue, okay? But notice how immediately when you twirl it like that, it gives it that vine-like look. And this wire is gonna be posable, so I can use this over and over. Now, some of these vines I will actually have loose, and I'll just wrap them around my trees during the game, right? I take care of them by just putting them in a plastic baggie and setting them in my terrain bin, and that's how I kind of store them. Right now, some of those vines will be glued to the trees, secured to the trees, and that will make my terrain a lot more swampy looking, right? Now, think about it in game terms. If you're looking at game rules, just imagine how the difficult terrain that you would have in a jungle, and all of the challenges that players will have with line of sight, movement, all that stuff. I think those kinds of games are best for skirmish games, right? Adventure games. Okay, so you can see there is my vine, and I'm going to start to put a little bit of hot glue to secure those seams, and then it's ready to go. And that, folks, is how I make vines to enhance my giant trees.